This is Dianne Andrews in Black and White. The issues you don't want to talk about. The arts and entertainment you need to know. And now here's your host, Dianne Andrews.
Hello, thank you for being here, in-stage audience. Thanks YouTube for watching us out there, and continue to subscribe to Dianne Andrews in Black and White on my channel. And thank you, television. I specifically want to thank Bert Carlson and Alan for putting me on Pelican Broadcasting Network. You all have been hearing me say the last 4 or 5 months, I'm going after New Orleans, I want to get New Orleans, we'll soon have New Orleans. We have New Orleans. We're the largest talk show in the state right now. We have New Orleans and Lafayette thanks to Pelican Broadcasting Network. And there'll be more channels for us also in Baton Rouge based on that network. Today we're doing something, a part 2 of a session I did already. When we look at everything in the news, and I try to bring you the hottest, top topics, I call them, and we bring you both sides of an issue, or we just bring you a better understanding of an issue. And today we're doing transgender. And at the last minute, because same-sex marriage by the Supreme Court is now legal in 50 states. Prior to last week, it was 37 states and the District of Columbia. We're headquartered here out of Louisiana, and in Louisiana and Mississippi, it was not legal until now. So we're going to talk about that with you today, and I think we've got really two very courageous and one very courageous guest, and we've got a psychologist, and we've got an attorney. Thanks, Kent Dejean is here. He's representing LaSavio and Dejean Law Firm. He's going to talk about the law on same-sex marriages. You know Ken, he's an old guy. Old favorite of ours. He's been here. Dr. Liz West is coming to us from Houston, Texas. She's also one of our favorite people. She's been here before. She did something with us on the kids and colorism. Now she's going to talk about the issues dealing with psychological issues of transgender. She is a clinical psychologist with a PhD. She's also a licensed professional counselor. Thank you for being here, Liz, coming from Houston. This is a man who is very courageous. And this young man, Pierre Selders, he is gay, as we call it in America. We call it gay. He is not bisexual, he is gay. He has low testosterone. And part of that is from a condition called cryptorchidism. I'm going to spell it for you. C-R-Y-T-O-R-C-H-I-D-I-S-M. Cryptorchidism. When I had YouTube pronounce it for me. And he didn't even know he had that, and I mentioned it, and I had him look it up. He's never been told what the disorder is called. But that is the #1 disorder of male genitals. When it does not, your testicles don't descend down from the abdomen into the scrotum. And then I have Jacob. Jacob is an actor and an editor of a magazine, and he's coming here to us. He's lived in Washington, D.C., and he is married. So he was married before, although they're estranged, but he is married to a gentleman. You're bisexual, though, but prefer men, if I remember right.
Yes.
So, but you've never been with a girl, is that right, Peter? Okay, let's hear, who wants to start, Jacob, you or Peter? You want him to start? Okay, come on, Jacob. Tell me about you. I know you came here, you're an actor, you lived in D.C. on the East Coast for many years, and you told me you were fondled as a little boy in these private Catholic schools. You thought it was normal.
Yes, Diane, that is in fact correct. When I was young, you know, I did go to private Catholic school, and ever since I was a child, all of my friends would ask me to play doctor, and that was just something that we always did.
You're the patient, and they're the doctor, so they touch on you.
Either way, but it was all of my male friends from school, so I just thought it was perfectly normal.
Because how old were you when it started? 6, 7?
Oh God, kindergarten.
So you,
pre-K.
But now a grown person never molested you or anything before this?
No, that never happened.
So you just thought, okay, this is normal. Boys are with boys and boys are with women. It's just what we all do. You thought all boys were doing this. pretty much.
Right. Well, and I grew up with a gay aunt and a gay uncle.
Yeah.
So it's always sort of been like, you know, one of those things that was never frowned upon, but certainly different.
Right. And your father, mother, no problem. You have siblings who are straight, I think you told me.
I do, yes. I have a sister who is straight.
Uh-huh. And your mother, father, no problem?
No.
Did you come out, or did they always know?
Well, I attempted to come out.
They knew already, right? Did they know already?
Basically.
But since you did date girls, but did you have a lot of boys come over and things like that, or?
Well, I've been with more women than men, and it's
just a preference per men.
Yes, it's definitely difficult to explain.
Yeah. Well, I had an assistant that worked for me, and I asked her. She was 20 years old, and she told me, I have been with more men than women my age, but I prefer women. You can't argue with what. That's what this show is about. In black and white, there are always shades of gray. P, I'm going to go to him for a moment and tell me, yours is more of a disorder, you know, a medical disorder, because you have that disorder, and you had to have surgery, or you did have surgery trying to bring your testicles, descend your testicals at 17, 18 years old, right?
Yes.
And that one had to be removed.
Yes.
Tell me, did you think you were different growing up, or, and what different, you know, when I say different, I'm not trying to make you think you're different, but, you know, what we call the norm boy. Did you think you were?
I always knew I was different. Like, even at a young age, you always know you're different from somebody. Like, you're not the quote-unquote norm. Like, and I never.
You have brothers? You do, don't you?
I have 4 brothers.
And 2 sisters.
And 1 sister.
One sister.
One
okay.
sister.
Uh-huh.
And all of them are straight. And I haven't gone through any traumatic experience.
None. Never raped, never molested.
None.
But you have low testosterone.
Yes.
The male steroid hormone. So your feelings were probably never that up, man. We'll talk about that with you, Dr. West. So you told me you had low testosterone.
Yes.
Probably because your testicles never descended.
Yes.
And that's what I talked to someone the other day, and I didn't bring up your name, but you're going on TV anyway, but I told them about a situation, you know, yours, this disorder, and she still did not see why same-sex marriage should be legal, or I still couldn't see. She said, I just leave it to God. I said, but he has a disorder. You wouldn't even say in your mind that people with a disorder like this, who have low testosterone, who probably feel more like a girl in a way, or don't feel like a real man, should date another man, because he's not really a man. When you look at hormones, you know, make up our feelings, our like estrogen for the woman. You know. So what do you have to say about that, Dr. West?
Hormones does give result in deep psychological effects, and they could be negative, you know. And when we come out in social behavior, when it comes out in social behaviors, it's always abnormal to the other population, but it's very normal to that person that's dealing with that condition.
Because even women, you know, when you reach a certain point, yes, we go through menopause, and things change.
Things change, and we seem strange.
Right.
So that's the same way with a person that's dealing with a condition that's deeply rooted in their hormonal system.
Right. It's just like the neurotransmitters in the brain, that regulate the brain.
Yes.
So what did you, when you had this, you had told me, Pierre, you really never thought too much about it, that your testicles never descended, or did you?
I never knew what it was called. I never knew. Like, I just thought, okay, I'm like I'm saying, I'm different.
Because in the gym, you saw other men, you know, you all walk around nude.
I didn't do that.
When in the showers,
That's
I mean, I don't mean nude, but in the
Dianne.
showers playing games, sports, you never, people with towels, you know, fall off, maybe, I don't know.
I played.
TV, I guess.
No, I played sports in elementary and middle school, but like, I stayed away from that because I didn't want nobody to say, oh, because I was always kind of soft. I was always, you know, kind of feminine, you know. So it was.
So did they tease you about, oh, he's a gay,
No.
and the word faggot, and
No.
You were a big person, so they did. What are you, 6'4"?
I was always big, and
You're 6'4"?
6'3", 6'4", yes, ma'am. And like, I went to a private school, and
how old are you? 24?
I'm 28.
28.
Yes.
And how old are you, Jacob? 20?
I'm 25.
25.
And I went to a school K through 12, so the people that I went to school with were basically family. Like, I got along with them. They knew me. It's like we all stood together. It's like, you know, you have little jokes, but it was nothing major, nothing serious, nothing emotional.
Did you date in high school? Did you date boys?
No.
Have you had a serious relationship since high school?
Maybe once. But it was just...
So would you consider yourself more celibate than anything, or?
I try to be.
You try to be celibate?
I try.
Do you want to marry, especially with the new law? And then we'll go to Kent.
Yes, I would love to get married.
Okay. So Kent, he can do it now here in this state, right?
Well, right now, that's the big question right now. Obviously, the U.S. Supreme Court last week in the Obergefell versus Hodges case ruled for the first time that under the 14th Amendment, there is a constitutional right that a person has to be married, even though they may have a same-sex marriage. Right. And so last Friday, the Supreme Court came down with a decision. It is widely expected that the tidal wave will gradually encompass the whole country.
Did you see the legislator from Alabama? Did anyone see him talking yesterday, last night, saying that he's never going to have same-sex marriage in the state of Alabama? Did you see him?
Yeah. One problem with that, though, is that there was this little thing called the Civil War.
Right.
And as a result of the Civil War, there was a constitutional amendment passed regarding the Supremacy Clause of the United States Constitution, which means that the federal government's law supersedes that of the state. So basically right now, we're kind of in a state of limbo. If you notice, as of today...
Someone got married in New Orleans. That's a same-sex. Right. Two guys in New Orleans got married the next day. Yeah, yesterday.
That's right, because you see, for example, the parish of Jefferson had started issuing licenses. However, there's some unknown as to whether they're going to wait 25 days for a petition for reconsideration with the Supreme Court. There was some talk of that. There was also some talk that, well, look, we're just going to wait for the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals federal court to issue a decision that would overturn the local federal judge.
But couldn't that take years?
No, actually it won't. What happens is the plaintiffs who lost the case here in Louisiana at the local federal court level are stating that they're going to go ahead and file a motion for appeal up to the federal Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals and have that appellate court order that there be a reverse of the local federal court and ask that this be implemented immediately in conformity with the U.S. Supreme Court.
Well, one constriction on the law is they can legislate that the license have to be given to same sex, but they can't make a minister or a priest or anyone else marry you.
That's correct, because for each religious church, they have their own rules and regulations. I'm Catholic myself, and certainly you have to go through a certain regimen and you have to meet certain preconditions, one of which, of course, is being Catholic, and the other of which, of course, is agreeing to raise your children in the Catholic faith. That has always been the case, and that still is protected even under this U.S. Supreme Court case.
And what is the Catholic saying, the Catholic diocese here saying about
Obviously, they are opposed to it for religious reasons, because in the Catholic Church, the tradition and history of the Catholic Church is that marriage is reserved only for heterosexual couples.
Okay. You're Catholic, and I'm going to ask you this, you may not answer, what's your belief on same-sex marriage?
Well, you know, my views on same-sex marriage, I think, is similar to other people. 5 years ago, if you'd have asked me this question, me, like most people, probably would have given you a different opinion. As a Catholic, my own individual rights, I believe that marriage is reserved for heterosexual couples. However, my belief has evolved to the point where I say I'm not in the United States of the Catholic Church. I'm in the United States of America, which means that I respect other people's belief that they may have a different religious interpretation.
Well, a lot of people say, well, now why can't polygamists? Well, the next thing is I'm going to ask to be, polygamous. Do you think it will lead to more incidents like that? Other people who want multiple wives, like, hey, we may want multiple husbands, polygamy with women. Do you think that, would that be legal?
Well, that's always been the argument, is that how far do we take this?
Right.
And we certainly can take it to certain extremes, and that certainly is a valid point. I think the question always becomes is, what about this particular situation. And what I also should point out is that the United States Supreme Court was decided by the 5-4 decision.
Right.
So it's important to remember that just because the Supreme Court rules one way today does not mean that there could be a change on the Supreme Court tomorrow if someone loses, if someone is lost from the Supreme Court.
Let's go to Jacob and Liz. When we come back, we're going to be taking a short break, and let's get back to this very interesting debate or conversation on the different elements dealing with transgender and dealing with the psychological effects of it, and also dealing with the law. Come on back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White. I think you'll learn something. I do every week.
Order your copies now of Dianne Andrews' latest books, Third Man Out, a suspenseful mystery by Dianne Andrews, and Gumbo for the Heart, 25 stories of faith, hope, and charity, both available now on Amazon.com.
In 1977, an 8-year-old boy picked up the game of golf from his father. The odds of that same boy then making it to the US and European Pro Golf Tours? 1 in 7 million. The odds of the Big Easy winning the US Open twice? 1 in 1.2 billion. The odds of him having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 150. Ernie Els encourages you to learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent, because kids in foster care don't need perfection. They need you.
Order your copies now of Dianne Andrews' latest books, Third Man Out, a suspenseful mystery by Dianne Andrews, and Gumbo for the Heart, 25 stories of faith, hope, and charity, both available now on Amazon.com.
Thanks for coming back to Dianne Andrews in Black and White. If you all saw my first transgender show with 2 women, you'll remember I showed you the picture of Bruce Jenner on this magazine about a month ago. Now let's look at I Am Kate. Now, where we see Bruce and who Bruce is now, which is Kate. I understand a reality show is being done on I Am Kate, but I also understand he has not had his sexual genitals removed. His penis has not been removed the last time I read this. But he's had 10 hours of face surgery and a whole lot of surgery. It just goes to show you, maybe growing up with those Kardashians all these years, you know, bigger things. I could be a woman too. I could be anything I want to be with all the surgery that seems to go on in that house.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so hey, we all can look any kind of way we want to. I talked about that in my colorism show. And even, I don't know if you saw this with Brad Pitt saying that he's bisexual, is out, and then this good-looking guy off Empire, if you read this article, he says he's gay. So let's talk about that. Were you bullied much? Because it may be becoming more normal to be bisexual, at least, than it's definitely more normal than it used to be, correct? You were bullied some, and Dr. West is you were the first to come out in your high school, and she's gonna talk about that with you.
Yes, absolutely. I was always called, you know, faggot and whatever else. You know, those are never easy things to forget. You know, of course, as a Christian, I forgave because that's what God tells us to do.
Right.
However,
are you Catholic? Because you said private Catholic school.
Yes,
okay.
I am Catholic, and I do certainly, you know, I did forgive all of those people, but you can never forget the fact that those hurtful words were said. And you know, it's kind of funny because there's even a bit of segregation within the gay community.
Really?
Absolutely, between the masculine
saying yes
and
to
the
this
femme.
talk?
Oh yeah, between your masculine and your feminine, and you know, all of the different subcultures within this subculture.
What are they? I'm sorry, what are the subcultures within the gay community?
Because you know, you have these macho men who claim to be masculine, seeking masculine, and then you have, you know, feminine guys who are clearly more interested in your masculine man. However, the masculine men don't want the feminine men, so they kind of, you know, say negative comments about them, oftentimes publicly, and it seems to just be this negative dichotomy, which they all get caught up into based off of the negativity that they've received their entire lives.
That's amazing, isn't it? What do you think of that, Dr.
Well,
West?
he's absolutely right. It started out as those benign jokes and things like faggot and gay and all that, and then it starts to get very violent. It can come down to being victimized.
Hate crimes.
Yeah, hate crimes.
Yeah, I'm going to show on that.
Yeah, and it leaves a very lasting effect on you throughout your life, you know. And but what I find is it's widely accepted. You know, they want to anti-bullying at school and students, and that's fine. However, if you bully transgender population, LGBT population, it's perfectly normal.
And just, I mentioned this on the first transgender show, but I wanted people to know that is the umbrella word for everything in the non-normal sex category: transvestite, transsexual. All of that fits under the umbrella of transgender.
And just as he stated, those things that they hear from a little child growing, it lasts a lifetime. It is very, very deep in the psychological effects of it. It goes into depression, anxiety, suicidality, and sexual promiscuity, you know, risky sexual behavior, all up into adulthood.
And you were never raped or anything, molestation. Did that ever happen to you, or are you willing to say?
I did have someone force themselves on me before, but you know, it's just one of those.
As a child or as an adult?
A teenager, you know, not really knowing what was going on and being a bit too naive to really understand exactly what was happening.
But you've had sex with a woman?
More with women.
Well, you said you dated more women, and it still prefer men, and you've never dated a woman.
Well, what I find is I can relate to this community in the sense that I've been bullied as a child just for being just a misfit. And
in what way?
Just for being a misfit, just for being ugly, and just for being ugly and not wanted and not in the in crowd.
Oh, not in the crowd.
Okay. Just bullied as a child, just regularly. And I can
people are hurt
relate.
Children.
I can relate to what bullying does to you. It lasts a life. I will never forget who did what. You never forget who said what.
I've seen people want to go back and get those people when they get, you know, you grow up and you look different and
and you want to say, aha, look at me now, but you never forget those things, and it has a lasting effect. So much so that some people, you know, twice as likely to try suicide attempts. You know, they're depressed. They go out and do sexual and catch sexual diseases. So much so that twice as likely as those who aren't bullied. So it has a detrimental effect on you, and I can relate in that. This generation, I mean this population, is all they're saying is we don't want any kind of special rights. We just want human rights. That's all we're asking for. And that's to be just left alone like everyone else.
Nobody's making you marry anybody or be with anybody, but if you decide, why can anyone else, if it's not hurting anyone, try to determine someone else's life?
Let's just gracefully disagree and move on with our lives.
That's what this show's about.
Just disagree and
just being an individual rather than being a mask or a femme. You're just yourself.
And if a person don't want to be around you, that's their decision. But you don't have to. Nobody's making you go out with these people. No one's making you go for drinks with them. Just go, you live your life, and why can't we all just get along? As Rodney King said years ago. And just let people live their lives.
Just the effect that kindness has on people is paramount in comparison.
Humility and humanity.
The support that we're getting these days is causing more people to be free enough to come out of the closet. And will diminish and decrease mental illnesses.
Speaking of that, Jacob, I understand, and when we talk briefly, a lot of people who are in the closet still come and hit on you, who have families at home and hit on other gay guys. We don't want any names, but I know that's happened to you, correct?
More heterosexual married men have come on to me in this state than gay men.
Same thing with you.
I believe that.
It's the ones that's talking about you that's coming around and trying to talk to you.
Absolutely.
And then that's so hypocritical. You're talking about it, and I can see them right now writing a petition for no same-sex marriage when they're trying to date one of you all or a gay man.
Right.
Well, in our world, the psychological world, it's very common. It's very expected because it's displaced anger. You know, you place an anger here, but really, this is really where you want to be.
Right, right. So I'm really mad with myself too, right? Because I really want to be there.
Exactly. And I may be kind of envious that they're free enough to come out.
Right. And I'm stuck here with this woman and 10 children, and I don't really want to be here. But then I've got to act like I want to be here around her. So I hate gays. Right. I hate gays. I mean, people do it all the time.
All the time.
But it's hypocritical. Because I bet a lot of people now who are out there banning, holding the banners against same-sex marriage, or some of them are trying to get with someone. That sounds like what you all are saying you've experienced.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, Diane, that over 75% of the gay pornography watched in the United States of America is not only in the Bible Belt, but by straight Christian men.
75%.
Over 75% is in the Bible Belt.
Wow. I can believe that downside. We're so hypocritical.
Of course.
And bored. Maybe some into a boring life, right?
Of course.
Yeah. So is there anything, you know, we'll be wrapping it up in a few minutes. Anything you'd like to say about the law, what you think is going to happen, Kent?
Well, obviously, you know, for right now, very soon this will become the law of the land. Before, what was important to remember was that with regard to the gay person's rights or persons of same sex, in the past, the Supreme Court, even in Louisiana, said, we're not going to do anything that is going to interfere with your right to contract. So we're going to, as long as you're, if you want to have a will where you place your partner in the will, we're not going to interfere in that. And so there already was a feeling in Louisiana that, look, we're going to allow you to go out and affirmatively, contractually do things that you need to do.
And we're going to have to wrap it up real quick. I want to thank you all, especially to say what happened to you, for being courageous enough to come on the show. And are you going to stay married or get with your husband?
Well, I am legally separated.
Oh, you're legally.
And I do intend on
filing.
On filing.
Will you remarry?
Maybe later on in life. I'm, you know.
Would you marry, Pierre?
Yes, I would.
Okay, so you would like to marry.
I want to get married.
Okay, I think we've learned a lot, and as you know, I show everybody's point of view, and I always tell people I'm straight now, just like when I have an atheist and a Christian on here, and everyone has a voice. That's what America was built on, and remember that as you go out in life. Thank you very much from Dianne Andrews in Black and White.
Order your copies now of Dianne Andrews' latest books, Third Man Out, a suspenseful mystery by Dianne Andrews, and Gumbo for the Heart, 25 stories of faith, hope, and charity, both available now on Amazon.com.